What's up everyone, Colt Capperrune here. Thank you for stopping by for another video. Today we're gonna talk about maybe the most elusive topic in all of audio. When is your song actually done? When is the production actually done? When is the mix actually done? So today I want to share my thoughts with you on how I decide when a production or a mix is actually done. When I'm closing the door, it's a done deal. I'm not working on it anymore. So today I got Clayton Shay coming in the studio. We're gonna wrap up his next single. It's like 80 or 90% there, and we are going to get it to the finish line today. And once we get it to the finish line, I'm gonna go over some things that you can incorporate into your own workflow that will hopefully help you know when something is done. So Clayton always Insta stories me when he comes in the studio, like every single session. So this will be the first time I put him on YouTube while he does it.
Alright guys, so I'm having to get creative with how I get Colt when I get here. So today we're gonna pretend like I'm on a phone call, so play along. Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I get that. I know. Look, tell him I said 50,000 or we're not doing it. Do you want to talk to Colt? Yeah, he's right here. I want to talk to you.
Who is it?
Instagram.
So you got me.
I did.
You got me so good. Okay, so you just had a song cross 1 million streams.
That's right.
Across all platforms.
Yep. Sign Another Man.
Sign Another Man by Clayton Shay. I'll put the link down below and between Apple Music and Spotify and the music video and everything. 1 million streams.
1 million
total.
streams.
And that's your second single that hit 1 million streams total.
Yep.
He's got 2 songs out. 2 songs total. Both of them hit 1 million streams. So today we're gonna finish his song, his next single called Neon. And I'll put links to all his stuff down below. Please go check him out as thanks for letting me include some of this in this video. Okay, let's get this one done. Okay, so we got the song done. Turned out great.
Oh yeah.
As always, here's to the next million.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I thought I would take a second to ask Clayton. Clayton is more of a songwriter than I am, but, well, that's not. Clayton is a songwriter and I am not a songwriter. I'm a producer and a mixer. So before he took off, I thought I would get his thoughts. What makes a song complete to you? When you're in a session, when you're in a co-write, what makes the song complete?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you got your co-writers, everyone's got to be okay with it, but I mean, you're looking at storyline from A to B. Does it tell the story appropriately? Do you get the message completely out like you want it to be? And then also things like melody and phrasing. You know, you don't want anything to sound off when you're singing it. So if everything's smooth, singing-wise, the words are all, you know, not jumbled or forced, and the story's told, to me, that's a finished product.
Because, like, the lyrics can be great and the song can be great, but like phrasing can take a song that's amateur sounding to a pro sounding song.
Yep, absolutely.
And like any one of those things, to me, in my opinion, I'm speaking for you.
Yeah.
Like if the phrasing isn't right, or if the lyrics aren't right, or if the melodies aren't right, like any one of those elements can take a song from an amateur song to like a really pro song.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that people realize that make their music start sounding more pro too.
Got it.
So.
At the risk of being polished and cookie cutter.
Yeah, not too polished, but
yeah. So there's a balance there because you don't want to like ride the formula and be like, well, maybe you do. There's no right or wrong. I genuinely believe there's no right or wrong. If you want to be a cookie cutter, polished pop songwriter, cool, good for you. But you should know like what you're after and where you're trying to land in that spectrum of like super indie, super organic, super not polished, all the way to Taylor Swift and Katy Perry.
I think it's best to obviously land on the side of being closer to too polished, just because if you're over on the other side of being jumbled up in your words, then it's uncomfortable to listen to. Like even if it's an indie song, you know, even those guys who are not writing to commercial mainstream radio, they're still making things sound good.
Yes.
The words still have to fit properly, and you don't want to be mashing your words together, basically. That's one of my biggest focuses in songwriting is phrasing.
There you go.
So,
Cool. Thanks.
gotcha, dude.
All right, we'll see you next time. So what I think you should take away from that clip with Clayton is that, does the story make sense? Do the lyrics tell a very clear, accurate picture, something that's visual? Is there a way to phrase things, the timing of the syllables that makes things more catchy, more pleasing to listen to? Are the melodies unique and organic and they feel natural to the music that they are over? As long as you've done your best with those things, the song is probably done, or at least as far as you can personally take it at that moment in time. Now, I've made this point before on the channel, and I think I'm probably going to make this point multiple times throughout the rest of this video, that in order to learn, in order to grow, you have to complete things. You have to call them done. So getting stuck in this never-ending loop of not finishing things because you think you could do better, all that does is actually hinder your growth, because you have to wrap something up, call it finished, put it away, revisit it later in order to learn what you could have actually done better. You have to separate yourself from it in order to see what could be better about it. So when I say you've done the best that you can, like in that moment, that's what I'm talking about. You have to eventually call something good and then revisit it later. And doing this over and over and over many, many times is how you grow and you become better at what you're doing. Okay, so now let's talk about production, and then we'll get into mixing. When is a production actually done? So one of my principles that I follow like to a T whenever I'm producing any song in any genre, regardless of the song, is, does the song give the ear something to listen to at every moment? Is there something interesting happening that catches the ear of the listener, of the average consumer, that makes them not hit skip? And I've kind of came to this opinion, this strategy, because of the Spotify skip rates. If you ever look up, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but if you ever look up the Spotify skip rates, which is how the average length that someone actually listens to a song, something like 25% of people skip a song in the first 5 seconds. And something like 35% of people skip the song in the first 10 seconds. And something like 40% of people skip the song before the first chorus hits, and like 50% of people skip the song before it's over. And so I feel like my job as a producer is getting my clients' listeners, my clients' fans, to the end of the song. That's the challenge that I'm trying to overcome here. And so I personally do this by making sure the ear always has something to listen to. The listener can never get bored. Now you can interpret this in any way that you want for your music and for your genres, because I do this differently depending on each song individually and depending on the genre. But the goal is still always the same: keep people from hitting next. So I won't call a production done until I feel like I've accomplished that. Now, the second thing that I do for every production is I go into it knowing exactly where I want the finish line to be. I have a vision in my head of what I want to happen in this song, and again, different for every song and every genre, but I know exactly where I want the song to end up, and then I work until I reach that finish line, at which point I can reassess and see if it actually is the finish line. But I think it's real important to know exactly what you're going after and work until you get to the place that you're trying to be, instead of just exploring. Not that exploring is bad, because some creative things come from exploration, but I do think it's important to have a finish line in mind and strive to get there. The third thing that decides when I call a production done is how many elements do I want happening in each part of the song. Now this kind of plays into the last part of knowing exactly what I'm going after. However, sometimes a percussion element, a chord element, and a vocal is all that is necessary, sometimes even throughout an entire song. Sometimes I need all of the instruments. I need drums and bass synths and bass arpeggiated synth, and I need all the guitars and all the acoustics and all the banjo and all the keys and the organ and sometimes I need absolutely everything in order to get to the finish line, and sometimes I just need a couple things. But I go into it having decided ahead of time how I want to approach this song, what is appropriate for the song, what is appropriate for the genre, and then from there that kind of informs me of how many elements I'm going to need in order to get to that finish line. So once I've answered these 3 questions appropriately, then I'm comfortable calling a production done. And of course, this is always a conversation that happens between me and my client, because they have to feel the same way about it. But I've found that usually if I can answer all 3 of these questions, if I can accomplish these 3 things, then the client is also almost always completely on board. And that's a good feeling. That's a good feeling when you do something and your client is like, hell yes, that's it, we're done, good job. That's the goal all the time. You want your client to be like, yes, awesome. Mixing. How do I call a mix done? This is probably arguably more elusive for most of you watching. How do you know when a mix is actually done and you should stop working? So the questions that I need to answer for me personally in order to call a mix done is, one, does the song shrink and grow dynamically? Is the small parts small and the biggest parts big? Does the biggest parts have enough impact that it's appropriate for the song and for the genre? And most of the time for the music that I'm personally working on, how do I make the parts that have impact have the maximum amount of impact that is appropriate for the song? The next thing is actually the same as when I'm producing. Have I given the ear something to listen to at every moment throughout the song, something to focus on, something to keep people from hitting next? I once heard someone say that you should produce. How did they actually say that? You should produce like there's no mixing. You should mix like there's no mastering, and you should master like you're actually selling the record yourself. I love that. I think that's fantastic. So some of these principles follow through multiple steps of the process for me, and so this is one of them. Have I given the ear something to listen to from start to finish? And this is a question that I need to answer. I need to accomplish this or feel like I've accomplished this adequately before I will call a mix done. The next thing that I need to answer or solve, if you will, is have I given the song an appropriate level of polish for the song and for the genre? Now, this is different for every song and for every genre, because a super folky indie singer-songwritery thing it's not, you don't want the same level of polish for that as you do for a super ultra polished top 40 pop song. Those are different goals. And so again, you have to recognize what you're working on and what the end goal is. But have I given the song an appropriate level of polish that is appropriate for the song in the genre? And once I have answered all these questions, or I feel like I've solved these problems for a mix, that's when I will call a mix done. So even though now that's when I call a mix like done, I don't do card checks, I send it to the client for mix revisions. Back in the day, this is when I would walk away from it for a day, or for 2 days, or for 3 days if I have the time, and revisit it later. So many of you may still be in this situation. So what I would do is I would walk away from it for as long of a period of time as I could justify, so I could clear my perspective, cleanse my palate, if you will. And then when I revisited it, I would, as quickly as I could, identify the very specific things that I'd like to change in this mix, and I would only do those things. I wouldn't let myself get back to tweaking all kinds of stuff within the mix. This kick drum needs just a couple more dB of 80 hertz, and I would only do that. This vocal just needs a little bit more of a high shelf to bring out some air, and I would only do that. So I would very quickly work through these changes that jumped out to me immediately, and I would only do those things. And then maybe I would send it to the client then, or maybe I would walk away from it again. A really common problem with newer mix engineers and intermediate mix engineers, and I was there in this same spot for many, many years, is you end up mixing the song to death. You can ruin all the magic of a song because you work on it too much. And it's better for a song, especially in terms of your growth path, your trajectory in your skill set. It's actually better to leave stuff a little bit less polished and a little bit more raw while you're learning. It's more important for that than it is for you to overmix it and destroy all of the emotion that was built into the mix to begin with. There will be links in the description for all of Clayton's socials and for his 2 music videos. I produced, mixed, and mastered those 2 singles, and I played more than half the instruments on both of them. So go check those out if you'd like to, and don't forget to give him a follow on his socials as thanks for him being a part of this video. It means a lot to me, and I hope you guys got something from that. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell next to the subscribe tab. You all know how it works, and I know a lot of you that watch ain't subscribed yet, so it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe. That's it for me today. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.